Good morning, everybody. Come on in. Hi, Monique. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
We all get good at our mute and unmute buttons. Sometimes it's funny, you're in a meeting and it's like, you're mute and you're unmute. You got to unmute for people to hear us. Hi, Neelam. Nice to have you here. If it is you, because it says Neelam's iPad, so maybe it is you.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Good to have you here today. It's 9 a.m. in the morning for me here in where I live in Victoria, BC, Canada. I'm not sure where everybody else is coming in from, but we're starting to get people from like all over the world, which is really, really exciting. So we'll just wait another minute or so and just make sure that we get everybody in here. Okay.
Hi.
Hello, Phyllis. Nice to have you.
Thank you. It's nice seeing you.
Yeah. I tried something a little different today. So this is my office. That's real. Like this is real outside here. It's not like a screen. But I usually have my blinds like really low because I thought it was too shiny on me. But this is a test today. Let's just see. Oh, it's 5 p.m. in the UK. Let's just see how it goes because I kind of like having some natural light coming in. And my screen is over here, so it doesn't really affect the glare on here. But you guys can let me know how it is. Okay. I mean, sometimes it's really sunny. Today's a little bit dull, so maybe that's why it's working. All right. So let us get started. I'll introduce, we have John from support. He's in the chat there in the background to help you with any, questions you might have. This is the time to ask for technical help. If you're just trying to even change your name and you're not sure how to do that. So John is there to help us out. He's going to help if I miss a question that maybe comes into the chat, and he'll make me aware of it by, interrupting me. I'm fine with that. I want our classes to be interactive. So that is the beauty of it. And when I forget to share my screen, which I did yesterday, actually, hopefully somebody reminds me, one of you, to say, am I supposed to be saying something on a screen? Probably you are, because I've done it a few times now. I don't know why I do that. I just think it's, I don't know, excited to be here with all of you and teaching you really great health and wellness things. I love it. So that just sort of segues me into what today is about. We're going to learn nutrition basics and what you need to understand. And it's an exciting topic. I live here in Victoria, British Columbia in Canada. It's the very west coast, farthest you can go. So if you're from the United States, from Seattle, it's about a 2-hour drive north, and you hit where I live, like in Canada, in Vancouver. And I've been involved with health and wellness pretty much my whole entire life. Even as a young girl, I used to always wanted to know, like, how is that person so happy, and where do they get their health from, and why is that person sick? Like, I was so curious, and it just makes sense. So they ended up going into nursing, and then since then studying nutrition, like functional nutrition. Functional nutrition is like Dr. Mark Hyman, that the ones that have the core of health around nutrition and what we put in our bodies. Kind of exciting, right? Because yes, we need Western medicine, Eastern medicine. We need our medications for that therapeutic time. But what can we do to improve our health on our own, like with our nutrition? What we put in our mouth affects our nutrition. So we do learn from each other. So if you can possibly, if it's not early morning and you're in your PJs still and you want to put your camera on, even for a few minutes so you can connect with each other and with me. We do record the class, and I hope that I should just double check. John, just make sure we're recording. I can't tell now because I think we're recording. Usually, yes, great. Okay, so we're recording, and today we are live streaming. So what does that mean? For any of you who have gone on our Get Set Up website, you obviously have to sign up. Down on the left-hand side, there's a little TV icon, or I think it's like a little icon that says TV. We now say it's like middle of the day and you just want to know what's going on at Get Set Up. You can click on that and you get live streamed, which means you're in the classroom. They can't see you, but you can hear them and see what's going on. It's really kind of a neat way to see if you maybe would like to take that class at a future date. I do encourage you to actually register for the class, because then you have this, like you can actually ask a question and see the chat. When you're live streaming, you can't do any of that. So what else to tell you? You can ask for a recording at the end of the session. They can send you a recording of our class in case you miss something. And also just a reminder, we don't get paid any kickbacks or anything for any services or goods I might talk about. And once in a while, I do talk about something that I love. And if I want to share with you a product, I share it with you. So today we're going to learn, this is really exciting stuff. Older adults, what changes with nutrition as we age? Are there changes? Yes, there are changes. Kind of interesting stuff. And the more you know about the changes, the better for you, because now you know you're not going crazy. Or am I sick? Is there something wrong with me? No, you will find out that there's some things that are kind of naturally changing with us as we age. We're going to look at the 4 factors that affect nutrition in our older years. And we're also going to look at like a tiny little lesson on nutrition basics, and then 3 very, very important nutrients that I think are very important to us, especially at this age. Hi, Henrietta. Nice to see you. So let's get started. And hello to all of you brand new people, brand new to me, because I don't recognize some names coming in. And so I feel like there might be some brand new people that I have not met before. So I've been a guide since I think end of January. So not that long, but I mostly create and teach health and wellness classes and some personal growth. So I want to ask the question, and you can use the electronic hand down below. There's a reactions button. I love that, where you can put a thumbs up, just like John is doing. If you agree with something and you want to be kind of feel like we're like in person, you can give me a thumbs up. You can raise your hand if you have a question, and then that will help me to just sort of be able to stop where I need to then ask the question. Now, okay, yes. So Suzanne, John, could you help Suzanne? Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. She's trying to get her camera set up the right way because it's on an angle.
You remember yesterday I tried so much to get myself on, I couldn't.
Yes, but you at least I can see you. Yeah, I can see you. Yeah,
I'm sideways.
Yeah, I can see you. Yeah. So John will help you in the chat, in a direct conversation between the two of you. So, at least we can see you, which is really great.
Yeah.
All right. Here's just a real quick question. Who here feels a little bit confused at times understanding what is the best nutrition for me? Anybody feel a bit confused? I know I do. Even the more I learn, the more confused I get. There seems to be more and more and more information. Do it this way, do it that way. Eat fat, don't eat fat. Eat, don't eat before 8. Eat before 8. Like there's so much confusing information out there. So I guess what I'll say just to start off for all of you and everybody out there in live stream land, we are all unique beings. Like we're human and we have lots of similarities, but we are still unique. My neighbor growing up was allergic to oranges. Sad for them, but I don't know why or what that intolerance was, but they were allergic to oranges. It's a fruit. God created fruit. Like why can't they eat oranges? But whatever unique DNA was going on with them, it wasn't a good food for them. They used to get a rash, around it could have been the orange peel, but they used to get a rash around their face. So what I'm pointing out here is we are all unique. So as we go through this, remember about who you are and what you got brought up with in eating, where you live. Maybe you get good quality dairy products where you live, and like where I live, it's definitely not as great as New Zealand. I know New Zealand has amazing dairy products because I've tried them. So let's go through what changes as we age. The first one is, as older adults, many of us live on our own. It's a fact. I'm married now and it's been 4 years, but prior to that, I lived on my own. Right into my 40s, I was by myself. When we live alone, what happens is it's not that we're lazy, it's that we just are tired of preparing food for one. It gets a little bit tiresome sometimes. Maybe we have energy one day and we create all this beautiful food, but then are we eating the same food for 3 days in a row? Maybe, right? That happens. But a lot of times we're just not creating that balanced, healthy food every single day. Do you remember the days if you've had children or have grandkids? We want to make sure that those steamed carrots are part of the meal, and you know that because we want to set a good example. But what do we do for ourselves, especially when we're by ourselves? Not always the most nutritious, balanced food every single day. I did it yesterday. I can have whatever today. Keep that in mind. Okay. So let me just see here what's going on. Okay. So the next one is what I started off with, is like, it is confusing at times to figure out what nutrition, what it's all about. Maybe you've got high blood pressure and you've always been told, don't eat salt, don't eat salt. So you cut out all of your salt. Is that a good idea? You know, maybe sea salt is okay for you. These are the kinds of questions that kind of add to the confusion for ourselves. Let's look at the next one. There are challenges when we have things like an illness or a disability or even isolation. Isn't that kind of a common thing right now? We're feeling a little bit more isolated, depending on the state where you live, the country that you live. Here in Canada, where I am living, we are kind of on a bit of a lockdown until our long weekend holiday, which comes next month. Victoria Day long weekend for us is May 24th. So I'm actually kind of on a bit of an isolation lockdown until the 25th of May. What does that mean for me? Well, when we are isolated or we have an illness or we're just a disability, it prevents us from sometimes getting the food that's necessary for that wonderful health, that healthy lifestyle. So that is something that changes as we get older. When we're younger, maybe we've got parents, we've got neighbors, we've got people looking out for us. And then when we get older, sometimes maybe we're displaced. We live in a different city than our kids. Maybe we live in our little apartment and our only friend in the building has either passed away or has moved away. Do you get what I mean, right? Okay, that was just to get an understanding. The other thing I want to really, really clarify and really emphasize is that I kind of hinted at it. You know, when you have like a baby or a young child or even a teenager, it's like, oh, got to make sure they have healthy food because they're growing. We got to make sure the carrots are on the table or the beets, or I don't know if kids like beets, but you know where I'm going with this. Like, we make sure the vegetables are part of the meal because the kids are at the meal. But guess what? Nutrition is just as important in our older age. And why is that? Because maybe you're 70. Do you want to live a healthy, lovely life till you're 100? I do. But do you want to live kind of like an okay life for those last 30 years and have pains and discomfort and in and out of hospital and all that stuff? No, I don't want that. So nutrition is just as important as we age. Now, I will say this. I'm okay with my father saying, I'm 87. If I feel like ice cream, I'm going to eat ice cream. You know, knock yourself out. That's great. He's 87. He's like, yeah, I'm 87 now. I'm going to eat whatever I feel like it. I get that notion. But nutrition is still very, very important for us, especially as we are older. All right, the next one. This one's interesting because we're going to segue into this whole thing of being undernourished. What does that mean exactly? Well, when you're undernourished, you're not getting the amount of vitamins and minerals and fatty acids and the required nutrients into your body for good, natural, optimal health. When that happens, what happens? You're not good at fighting infections. You start to even experience some brain issues, like your head is not very clear. You might have muscle weaknesses. You're not using your muscles. You're not like working out. You're not doing anything like that. So guess what's happening? Your muscles are kind of slowly getting smaller. So what happens with that? Aren't you at risk of falling? You're feeling weaker. You don't have the nutrients in your body. Yeah, you're at risk of falling, or you're at risk of getting up and doing the movement that we hope that everybody does every day, even if it's a 10-minute walk around the block. So if you are undernourished and you didn't even realize that slowly, gradually, you've been undernourishing yourself, you become weaker. All right. I know some people are writing notes down, which I think is awesome. I love when people take notes. That means that there's something of value that they're finding there. I can always jump back to another slide if somebody misses something, okay? I don't mind doing that at all. All right, this leads me to about undernourishment. Now, when I first heard this term, I was in nursing school. I thought it was kind of fake. Tea and toast syndrome, it sounds like somebody made that up. But guess what? It isn't a made up thing. It's actually a real thing. So if you look in Wikipedia, which gives definitions, tea and toast syndrome is a form of malnutrition commonly experienced by older adults that are unable to prepare meals or tend to themselves. Has anybody experienced this with a family member, or even maybe yourself? If you maybe this has happened to yourself. Okay, so what does it mean exactly? It really means exactly what it says. Like, what's happening is you're tired, you can't stand up in the kitchen for very long anymore. You feel like, oh, I ate a pretty good lunch midday, so I'm just going to have a piece of toast for dinner. But what happens is it becomes a habit. And now 3 out of 7 nights at nighttime, you're having toast and tea for dinner. What happens with that is you're lacking the vitamins and nutrients your body needs. And what happens very, very popular is a low salt amount in your body. Now, I won't give you the technical term, but basically you have low salt in your body, which causes some problems. So my grandmother used to do this. My mom and I used to go visit her once a week, and we would say, what did you have for dinner last night? I mean, it wasn't very nice. We used to question, what she was eating and how she was doing out of love, right? Of course, out of love. But often she would have her tea and toast at nighttime. So she wasn't eating very healthily at night. I mean, some bread has a few, the multigrain has a few good things in it, maybe fiber, but it's not got vitamin A in it. I doubt it. So this is a real problem, tea and toast syndrome. So I want you to be aware of that. If you have a parent, or you are that person, or your neighbor down the street lives alone and you know that they're not very creative in the kitchen, I want you to be aware that they might need some help. All right, let's get to the factors that change our nutrition status as we age. The factors, what do I say here? What are the factors that affect our nutrition as we age? So the first factor we've touched on already, social factors. So what are social factors? Well, there's that factor of possibly, but not completely. There could be, you live on your own. Maybe a loved one has just passed away and now you're completely, living in the house by yourself. You don't feel like cooking. You don't have the hunger. You don't have the mood to cook and make this delicious big meal. You have nobody to cook for. Why are you going to do it for yourself? We don't take care of ourselves sometimes when we're socially feeling sad or we're feeling like alone. I look at this picture and I see this lady. She looks like a little bit lost. She's just, she made her cup of tea and is sitting on the counter. She's not even drinking it. Another part of the social factors comes with being on a fixed income. Now, I'm not going to ask how many here are on a fixed income, but I'll speak for myself. I'm on a fixed income because I started getting my pension this year, or just end of last year. Now, in some ways I'm not, because my husband is still working a job where he has opportunity to do overtime. He has an opportunity to get a raise. He has an opportunity to pick up extra part-time work. For me, I'm more on a fixed income. For the lady down the street, or for yourself, maybe you've been on the same fixed income for 5 years. What happens when we're on a fixed income? One of the biggest things that affect the cost of our food is weather. Well, weather and even COVID, or for example, where I'm going with that is when they closed all the borders and we couldn't sort of move freely between countries, some countries like the United States and Canada, we couldn't get the foreign workers that we normally would have come to our company. There you are. It's working. I see your beautiful face now. Sorry for the interruption. We've got the camera working. Thank you for whoever figured it all out. in Canada, we couldn't get some workers that would come and work some of our crops. So food prices skyrocketed. What about the years when the weather is really crummy and we lose all the blossoms off our apple trees? That happened to us last year here in Canada. We had a warm spell and then it dropped and we had 2 weeks of cold snap. And a lot of the blossoms on the fruit trees in our interior fell off. Done. We lost tons of crops. What happens then? The price of the apples went up. So if you're on a fixed income, these fluctuations, when a cauliflower is $5 to buy, do you buy it, or do you go, oh, it's too expensive, I better wait till that's on sale? So as an older adult, we sometimes social factors, fixed income, I can't afford meat anymore, so we stop buying it. One of the things that I do is when I go visit my father, I go to the butcher before I go and I get things in little small packages of sausage or what have you. And I take it and I put it in his freezer because I know he can afford it, but it's his mindset that he's not going to spend that much money for that product anymore. So he just doesn't buy it. Maybe some of you have parents or yourself, you're like, I am not buying sausages at that price because I know that they can be cheaper, but prices are going up. So that's social factors. This is the next one, is very, very interesting. And I want you all to take this in. Don't feel like everything is downhill when we're older, but our appetite naturally reduces as we get older. Maybe some of you haven't noticed that yet. I have just started to notice it for me. When we age, we tend to lose muscle mass in our body. That is just a given. But there's things you can work. You can do strength training. Keep your muscles strong, keep your muscle mass where you want it to be. Because aging, just naturally we lose muscle mass, that means that our body doesn't need as many calories. That's a fact. As we get older, we naturally are less hungry then. So if you have that, plus the fact that you just lost a loved one, you live on your own, your daughter who lived with you has now moved on, out of the house, you're by yourself. It's not that you are getting sick or that you're sick. And that's the point I want to make. We naturally have our hunger going down, reducing as we age. It's natural. You're not sick. There's nothing in that sense. Now, if you truly feel there's something's really changing, I would like you to see your doctor. I am not a doctor. I'm not here to give you any medical advice. I just should say that up top of the class. No, this is not medical advice. This is just observations and research and information that I've gathered on nutrition that we typically, maybe not everybody, but we typically start to see that we have a reduced appetite. And if that's the only symptom you're having, that doesn't necessarily mean you've got a disease or something's happened. All right. What are some other reasons that we might have a reduced appetite other than the lower muscle mass? Well, we actually start to produce less of the hormone that triggers our hunger in our bodies. I think it's called ghrelin, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember the name of the hormone. We naturally produce less of that hormone. So of course, we're not going to have the trigger to say, oh, you're hungry, you're hungry. Well, like when we were a teenager, weren't teenagers hungry like all the time, right? All the time, teenagers were hungry. And in the picture, I'm showing medication. There are some medications that can curb our appetite when we're not even trying to. Like we're not taking a weight loss product or something. I'm just talking about general medications. Some medications can kind of screw around a little bit with our appetite. So keep that in mind. And if that's the case, or you notice and you know which medication is just like doing that to you, talk to your doctor. See, maybe he can make some changes or some adjustments to the medication you're taking. So what do we have so far? We've got social factors. We've talked about it. Change in scenery, who you live with, being on a fixed income, reduced appetite from lower muscle mass, reduced appetite from lower of the hormone that triggers our appetite. Now let's look at the third one. If we're ready, does anybody, let me just stop for 1 second. I just want to stop because I think it's important just to make sure that we've got everybody still Still with me. Does anybody have any questions so far since we've where we're at? Any comments maybe? Hi, Monique.
Yeah, hi. When you say you age and your appetite gets reduced, but I mean, how? I mean, I have not noticed that because I have a hard time with my weight.
Okay, so I'll comment on this, Monique, because now I don't know how old you are, and you don't have to tell us. That's okay. But I just got married 4 years ago. So when I first got married, just 4 years ago, so I was 51. My husband's a little younger than me, and he's a male. So male, female is a bit different. We'd cook our food, no kids, cook our food. We would plate our food, and like in the Food Network, plate our food. We would put our food on our plates. We'd go to the table, and my plate looked exactly like Dan's, my husband. And I would eat it all. And I was overweight, but I would eat it all and feel like I still have I'm like not competing with him, but it's like, if he's going to eat that much good stuff, I'm going to eat that much good stuff. And I used to do that for the first 2 or 3 years of our marriage. But now that I'm 55, turning 56 this year, I have noticed that if I just slow down with my eating, I put 2/3 on my plate compared to him now. And I'm just as satisfied. He goes for seconds. I don't go for seconds. So I think because it's gradual, you might not notice it. But if you really intuitively take a breather and maybe put 2/3 on your plate, you will feel just as satisfied with that amount than you did with the full amount. And I'm only just starting to see it in my mid 50s. So if you haven't noticed it, that's okay. Maybe you're still out exercising and running marathons and you're into your 60s and doing all this fabulous stuff. I don't do that. I walk. That's all I do. But I am noticing that there is a difference between me and my husband. So hopefully that answers your question, Monique.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
It's a bit funny. Some people don't notice it at all, but all I'm saying is it can happen. And if you listen or take a little bit of a slowdown, you might notice that you need less food. Your body just needs less food.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, okay, all right. Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Henrietta, did you want to say something?
Yeah, yes. Does bloating affect your appetite?
Sorry, does what?
Bloating, that is, most probably you ate in the morning and you find yourself, your stomach, you are not, you don't have the ability to eat again for the whole day. Oh, yes, it's okay.
No, I see what you're saying. If we really listen to our bodies, now I study nutrition every day. So other than teaching, I'm always keeping up with things. If you feed your body nutrient dense foods, like with all the really amazing vitamins and minerals, it feels more satisfied. If we eat, those are the functional foods. If we eat non-functional foods, like a bag of chips and, a bit of this and a bit of that empty, like not even the empty calories, but empty vitamins, no minerals, you're constantly hungry for these things. So if from taking these nutrition classes with me or wellness classes or from your studies and just the way you've changed things, when you eat more nutrient dense foods like functional foods, you might not be hungry for 4 hours. That could happen. And it's okay. That's okay. Just make sure you're getting the vitamins and minerals that your body needs to function. But now that I'm having a smoothie in the morning full of vegetables, I used to just do fruit, but it's full of vegetables now. I'm good for 4 hours. Like I don't eat till like late. I eat my lunch late now because I'm full. So thank you for the questions. Let's just go back to our screen now, and we'll have more time for some questions a little bit later as well. So here's number 3, third factor. This one is really cool. I didn't know this one. I still find this one fascinating. As we age, we may have a reduced sensitivity to taste, to smell and taste. What does that mean? Well, as we age, we just don't have that acute sensitivity to it. So like say in the olden days, you'd walk into the house and, oh, husband's cooking something. I can smell it. Oh, he's making his famous spaghetti sauce. That's so great. I can smell it the moment I walk in the door. Well, as we age, our sensitivity to smell might have changed, reduced a bit. So maybe I walk in the door and I don't immediately smell the spaghetti sauce, but once I put my clothes, my jacket away, and I move more into the kitchen, closer to the pot of spaghetti sauce boiling, now I can smell it. Do you get what I'm saying? It doesn't mean it just completely disappears, but it's like it's just not as acutely sensitive. And same with our taste. So when we're eating, you want to taste your food. When you're sick with a cold and you can't taste your food and how boring it is, you can't taste the deliciousness of the food. Sort of same thing. Our taste differs a little bit as we age. So maybe that could cause us to not want to eat as much, or we don't want to, the food seems boring to us now. I used to love having a really crisp steak, but now it's boring. Could be because of our taste, our sensitivity to taste. So I just want you to be aware of these things. It doesn't mean that all awful things happen, the moment you turn 55. It's just good to be aware of these things. That's the purpose of these slides. Sensitivity to smell and taste can also be, unfortunately, dull from our medications, where then you feel like I'm just disinterested in food. Maybe I'm depressed, maybe I'm not. Maybe it's just that your sensitivity to the smell and taste is gone, so you're not as excited about that food. And it could be, the culprit could be medications. We talked a little bit about that with hunger as well, right? With having our appetite. The medications can also, you get medications, you can taste it in your mouth, or maybe you get that metallic flavor when you eat something now. So it does affect that. Okay, let's look now at the fourth one. This one is super, super important. And gastrointestinal issues. How many of us as we age feel like, we have some issues with like GERD, that gastric reflux, or whenever I eat a banana, I can, I feel that burning sensation. Bananas sort of do that to me once in a while. Yeah, Phyllis is saying yes. So guess what? As we age, our digestion does tend to slow down, and our intestines absorb a little bit less of the nutrients. They're just not as efficient at absorbing. Now, you can be 30 and have what they call IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, leaky gut. You've heard of some of these terms. We're not digesting and absorbing our nutrients from our food. People that have Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, they're not absorbing, they're eating the food and it's kind of going right through them, right? They're not absorbing the nutrients. Generally, as we age, this might be something that happens. So that's my one kind of funny picture with the stomach showing. But here's other reasons. Why else can gastrointestinal things happen with us as we age? Well, remember I talked about muscle mass?
Yeah.
Well, muscle mass changes in our jaw as well. With the muscles in here, it changes. Unless you're doing specific facial, exercises to keep the muscles up. So we might start having a little problems with chewing, or like my grandmother, she started having trouble swallowing. It was painful to watch her swallow because it just seemed like it hurt to swallow. All of those things can add to gastric reflux or heartburn problems and things, because we're not breaking down our food well enough. So if you're not chewing your food well enough, you're not giving it that head start by the time it comes down into the stomach and the intestine to absorb the nutrients. It's not broken down enough. Sometimes when we poop, not to be graphic, sometimes, when food particles seem to be in our, in the bathroom experience, you go, oh, I didn't digest that food very well. That can happen. It's just going right through you. And the other real key one for us to all be aware of is our dental issues. If any of you have not had dental issues yet, that's awesome. But remember, having regular checkups and getting our teeth clean and stuff is so important, because the moment when you've got like a toothache or you've got a broken tooth and you have to chew just on one side, how that affects your nutrition. Huge, right? It's huge. So dental issues can also affect this gastrointestinal issues. It's like you're not absorbing your food very well, you're not chewing your food very well. And so, I mean, this is a reminder to make sure we keep our dental healthy, our dental healthy. Okay, Now so those are the factors. I had 4 factors that I want to talk to you about. Now, let's just look at the basics of nutrition. So this is just a teeny little nutrition lesson on the basics of nutrition. What do we need? Well, there's 6 things that we need for nutrition that is essential for us. These are essential, so we need these 6 things. The first 3 show up as macronutrients. Macro meaning big. So we need this in like bigger amounts. What are they? Carbohydrates, proteins, and healthy fats. I say healthy because I don't want to promote bad fats. Protein rich foods, carbohydrate rich foods. These are the 3 macros that we need, these 3 things. When people say, oh, I don't eat carbs, that's a lie. They have to have carbs for their brains to work. You might have low carbs, but you still need carbs for your brain and your body to function. Some people eat more protein than others. You might be vegetarian. You still might be getting a lot of protein in your beans and lentils and your vegetables. Maybe you're not eating animal protein, but you're still getting protein. So we need these 3 things. And then we need our micronutrients. Micro meaning small. All right, what are the micronutrients? This is pretty simple. I think most of us are aware. Vitamins and minerals. We say micro because we might need a lot of vitamin E, but in the comparison to the protein we need, it's very micro, very small. That doesn't mean that some of us are deficient, aren't deficient in some of these vitamins and minerals. Like one of the common deficiencies for most people in North America is vitamin D. We need vitamin D, and a lot of us are low in our vitamin D. Just on a sidebar, here in Canada and probably in the United States or even in the UK, the only way you can test your vitamin D level in your body is a blood test. So the next time, if you think you might have a problem with vitamin D, because low vitamin D puts you at risk of a lot of different diseases, ask your doctor to add it to your blood panel when you go to get your blood work next time. In Canada, it costs $65 to do it unless a specialist orders it. So if your family doctor is ordering your vitamin D blood test, you have to pay for it here in Canada. Maybe not in the States, but here in Canada, we pay for it. But I want to know what my vitamin D is, because guess what? When I had it tested, I was in the second to lowest category. I was like deficient. Who knew? I mean, my skin is a little bit darker. So when I go in the sun, I don't get as much as, say, somebody with lighter skin. But I like to go out in the sunshine. I like to get natural light on me, but I wasn't producing enough vitamin D or getting it in my food. So I realized that my vitamin D was low. So something to think about. So we've got our 3 macros: carbohydrates, protein, fats, micros, vitamins and minerals. That's 5. What's the 6th one?
Water.
Water. So important is water. I will say this, in the nutrition stuff that I study in the group that I'm a part of different things to keep up to date on nutrition. As humans, we can only go, I don't even know what the longest somebody can hold their breath. I don't know the facts on that, but what minutes, like less than minutes that we can survive without air and our oxygen, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Water is the next one that is so mandatory. We cannot go many days without water. So when people do dry fast, like Ramadan right now, they do a dry fast during the day, but then they do eat and have water outside of the Ramadan period of those 30 days, I think, that they do it in. I'm not that familiar with Ramadan because it's not part of my culture, but they sip water outside of that little dry window of fasting. We need water. It is so essential, more so than food. So a human can manufacture from the fat on their body energy to survive with what we have in our body, but not the water. When the water runs out, we need to take water. So what I'm saying is that's how important water is. It's even more important than food for us for survival. We can go days actually without food. If you really want to know, we can, but we cannot from water. So keep that in mind. If you're feeling dehydrated, we need water for all of our functions in our body. Interesting, isn't it? I was so scared when I heard that. I went, really? I always like make sure I've got water, food with me, but I wasn't always thinking about the water component. All right, so for the last part of the class, I want to really emphasize 3 really, really amazing, essential, I think, essential nutrients that I feel are really important for us to not forget about. I think that for the most part, omega-3s, for the most part, people are low in their omega-3s in their bodies. And I don't know why that is. Well, I know one of the reasons. The one reason is we don't manufacture omega-3 fatty acids in our body. We can't create them in our bodies. We can create vitamin D, like we just talked about being deficient, but we can create it from getting sunlight, and our body will manufacture vitamin D in our bodies. Maybe not enough, but we can at least manufacture it. We can manufacture other things. We can take what does our body do when we don't have enough calcium? It takes it from our bones. It borrows it from our bones if we need it for that process, whatever that process is. But fatty acids, the omega-3s, we cannot manufacture. So we have to get it from our food. Omega-3s is the #1 thing to help with your inflammation in your body. So if you're feeling bloated, if you're feeling like you're carrying too much of something, if you feel like there could be some inflammation inside of you, the #1 thing to help that is to make sure your omega-3s are up, and you've got a good ratio of omega-3s. Now, to ask me how much do I need, I mean, I'm not here to say specifically because we're all different body types and sexes and things like that. But I can almost say with certainty that we are all low in our omega-3s. So what can we do? It's found in mainly the oily fishes, sardines, tuna, mackerel, salmon, herring. But what if you don't eat fish, or what if you don't like fish? It's in our seeds, our flax seeds, our chia seeds, our hemp seeds. It's in in most of our nuts, the true nuts, right? Walnuts, almonds, Brazil nuts, pistachio nuts. There's that beautiful oil in there. You're getting your omega-3s. One of the best ways to get omega-3 is to buy flax, ground flax. You can get it at Costco. I've seen it at Walmart. I've seen it in most grocery stores. It's the ground, beautiful, golden looking flax powder. It's like almost like a powder. I put it in a little bit of warm water in the morning, and I drink. If I'm feeling like I'm low in my fatty acids, I haven't been eating fish that much, I will start drinking my omega-3 ground flax in the mornings. You can add a little hint of cinnamon or lemon, or even maybe a little bit of maple syrup if you're really having trouble swallowing it. But I mean, I say you have to get it from your food. So why not enjoy a piece of beautiful salmon once a week or once every 2 weeks? Where else? So those are the places for omega-3s. But every class, if you've taken any of my other health and wellness classes, does not omega-3 come up in just about every class? Brain health, eye health. Eye health hasn't come out as a class yet, but I've just created it. What else? Natural remedies. When I talk about natural remedies for eczema or psoriasis, what helps it? Omega-3s. It's just this amazing thing. So that's why it's my #1. What's the #2 one? Calcium. Take a look at the picture. What is it? What is that showing?
Broccoli.
Yeah, dark green
Dark.
vegetables. There's kale, there's broccoli, there's spinach, there's some of these other like leafy greens. That is your
Collard.
hugest source of calcium. Do you notice there's no cow here? I am not against the cow dairy industry. I will say that right now for anybody watching. I'm not against it. I like my cows. I love my cows, actually. But calcium, the biggest source is to come from your green leafy vegetables, and you get it the most bioavailable from the green leafy vegetables. I'm not saying that dairy doesn't have calcium. Remember in the 70s, if anybody remembers all the commercials about drink milk, for your health and all this stuff. We don't see those commercials anymore, not as much, because so many people have problems with dairy products now. It is a fact that dairy products can cause inflammation in our bodies. It's a fact. Research has shown us that they're pro-inflammatory. So if you do enjoy drinking milk or cheese or yogurt or anything like that, great. Keep doing what makes you feel good. But keep in mind, if you've got some kind of inflammation problem, maybe do a little test on that. The thing about calcium in milk is that, yes, there's calcium in milk, but the way that we absorb it is different, and it's a little bit more complicated than getting it from your green leafy vegetables. Hence, I put this picture up. And calcium also helps to lower blood pressure. So if you've got some blood pressure issues, you might be low in your calcium. So keep that in mind. And remember, when we don't have enough calcium to use for our processes, to do our cleaning and all the different things we do in our bodies, guess where our body takes it from? I mentioned it already. It steals it. It actually steals it from our bones and says, I'm taking this now and I will return it when I get another big bunch of calcium. That's what your body's telling you. So it steals it from your bones. You go on with your days. You don't really like green leafy vegetables. I had carrots. That's good enough. You go through your week, next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You're not giving your body enough calcium. Guess what happens? Your bones sit there with less calcium than that's necessary. And we never put back what we took from our bones. Hence, osteoporosis, osteopenia, all those things where, as we're aging, we really need strong bones. Phyllis is asking about cholesterol. Okay, so what can you, oh, you're unmuted. What do you mean exactly? What do you want to know about cholesterol?
What to eat to lower your cholesterol?
Okay, so cholesterol is a funny one, and I'll say this, and we still have a little bit of time, and it's a small class, so I don't mind, going off on the cholesterol thing. Our body really, really needs cholesterol. So we think of it as a bad word, but it's not. There is the HDL, good cholesterol, and then there's the LDL, bad cholesterol. We want to have lots of HDL. Avocados is our good, healthy fats. We need cholesterol. It's what lubricates our body. It's what helps our brains to think. It's what helps a lot of systems. We need cholesterol. So if you've gone for a blood test and your doctor says, oh, Phyllis, your cholesterol is too high, you need to cut out those foods. That happens, right? It could be hereditary. Cholesterol is actually one of those hereditary things. It could be just from your DNA and your genes that you've got this kind of high, bad cholesterol in your body. The number one thing, obviously, to cut out if you have high cholesterol, the bad kind, is the animal products, right? That's where you got the cholesterol in the butter, in the meats, in the egg yolks. But if it was me, I would just maybe cut down on the red meat I'm eating to help me get the ratio back. But I would increase my avocados. I would keep eating my beautiful eggs as long as it makes me feel good, because the egg yolk is like a pure, beautiful cholesterol. Like, to me, that's the good cholesterol. I'll tell you another little thing for any of you that are on cholesterol pills, like Lipitor or anything like that. If you lower your cholesterol too low, what's the side effect of that? Does anybody know?
Muscles.
We don't know.
Depression. You can get depressed if your cholesterol in your body goes too low. So if you go to the doctor and he says, oh, your cholesterol's too high, you better, cut out the red meat and start eating more vegetables. And you say, okay, fine. And you're a little bit scared, right? You're 50 something. You're like, I don't want to have a heart attack. So I don't want to have clogged arteries. I don't want to end up in the hospital. So you go home, you start on your medication, and now you drastically change how you're eating. You're eating green leafy vegetables. You're only having red meat once or twice a week. You're increasing your really good cholesterol. Let's just say you're doing all those things. Now the amount of medication you're taking is maybe dipping your cholesterol too low. Check on that. So you might need to go back to your doctor and say, hey, doc, for the last 4 weeks, I've been eating a way different diet than I was for the last 6 months. Can you check my cholesterol levels again? So, we want to keep on track with that. Victoria's asking if she eats an egg every day, is that going to cause heart problems? I think that we are all unique in how our bodies are. So if you love eating eggs, eat your eggs, but just, get your checkups done at the doctor. Make sure you check your cholesterol. Maybe it's not affecting your cholesterol and you've got this beautiful amount of the good cholesterol and you're doing okay having 2 or 3 or 5 eggs a week. It's all different for each person. But if your cholesterol is off the charts and your doctor says, wow, we need to really focus on this one thing, you may want to be a little bit more careful with the amount of eggs you're eating. Maybe you just eat egg whites, or 1 egg yolk to 3 egg whites as your scrambled eggs, because you love scrambled eggs. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, let's go to the last one, and it's fiber. Many of us, okay, sorry, I just saw, sorry, Laura just wants to give us a little quick share. Go for it.
Yeah, a real quick share, and I won't break it all down, but anyways, this is 23 years ago. I was increasing my cholesterol, was up to 313. My doc said, here, you need to take meds. I don't want to take them, but she said, yes, you do. And I went home and stopped at the bookstore. It was an Amazon bookstore at that time, and got a book on cholesterol and talked with my brother, who was a vegetarian. And he said, I would bet you $1,000 that if you went on a 30-day diet of rice and beans, period, and fruit, you'll drop that cholesterol. You'll be amazed. And he said, of course, I'll never pay you $1,000, but I bet you that. That's my brother. Anyway, I did. I went on a vegan diet just with rice and beans. I went back 25 days later because I was taking a trip and went in for my blood test. I went from 313 to 195.
Wow.
In 25 days on a strict vegetarian diet.
Wow.
So,
Amazing.
and I have never returned to the drugs. I do like to eat eggs and cheese. I will do that. So my cholesterol is up to 240 and I'm perfectly happy with that.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Laura. Yeah, I mean, like what I really want to, like, cholesterol doesn't have to be a bad word is all I'm saying, because there is the good cholesterol. So the good fats, like the healthy coconut oil, olive oil, the Mediterranean diet, the people that live in Spain and in Greece and stuff, they have a lot of olive oil and a lot of olives, and that's the good fat. So we need that good fat to have beautiful, healthy skin, and the oil and the moisture in our skin. Like, we don't want our skin to be so dry that it's flaking and we're ending up with psoriasis and things like that. So a lot of the stuff that we do can be diet related. Like, if we change what nutrition we're putting into our mouths can and adjust how healthy and vital we are. So the last one I want to bring up is about fiber. I'm just looking at the last question here. Suzanne's asking about arthritis on hand, finger joint. Yes. So kind of like not off topic, but I'll just answer or mention Suzanne's message here. Arthritis, if people have problems with joints, they talk about those nightshade things like the peppers and the eggplant and stuff. For some people, that's irritating. Tomatoes, potatoes, all the nightshade fruits and vegetables can cause arthritic pain. One thing I haven't talked about today, and I will talk about it in a future class on diet, food lifestyles, where we talk about gluten-free and vegan and vegetarian, and what does flexitarian mean? What does keto mean? It's going to be a really great class. I will talk about gluten, but for right now, I will say this: gluten that is in our wheat and a lot of other products. Gluten, for some people, I'm going to just be bold and say, for every one of us, gluten's not great. Gluten is like a glue. You eat your bread, it goes into our system, it goes into the little crevices and it sticks there. It's like when you're baking and you leave a little bit of flour on the counter by accident and it gets wet. Isn't it like cement the next day? So it is, right? Flour, that processed flour turns into cement. What do you think it's doing in our insides? So if you
Same thing.
Yeah, if you have arthritis or you have bloatiness, like that's my problem, I think thinking about cutting out some of the gluten foods in our diet, whether you're considered celiac, which it can kill you if you're celiac, or if you are just sensitive to gluten, you might see an improvement in your arthritis and other things. So that was just a little sidebar. But let's just get to our last point about fiber. As we get older, our digestive systems, as we've just learned, kind of can slow down a little bit. Not like to a halt, but it does slow down. It's not as revved and, high metabolism as when we were 17. So we need to have foods rich in fiber to help keep those pipes clean, right? Keep the stuff moving in our bodies, cleaning the pipes too. By pipes, you know what I mean? Our vessels and stuff. So we need to have good, beautiful fiber from nuts, seeds, fruits, vegetables. I changed the slide because at first I had whole grain cereal, whole grain bread, brown rice as the top ones. But honestly, vegans, vegetarians will tell you, any health, nutrition, functional nutritionist will tell you, get your fiber from your nuts and seeds, your fruits and vegetables. Those are the highlights of the fiber. If you love your whole wheat bread, and maybe you're trying a gluten-free bread, I'm not gonna promote the gluten breads anymore because I've read too much damaging information, information on how it damages our insides. So focus on your fiber. Do you know we're supposed to get around 30 grams of fiber a day? How many grams are you getting? 5, 3? Some people get like 1 or 2 grams of fiber, and you know where they get it? From their protein shake, their protein powder, because it says it's got a bit of fiber in it. That's it. We're not getting a lot of fiber. We need fiber, especially as we age. Why? Because everything's kind of slow. Let's think of it this way. Things are kind of settling into a slower mode as we age, and every decade is very significant. So what can we do about it? Let's make sure we get the fiber. Don't be afraid of fruits. I know a lot of people that are pre-diabetic or diabetic were afraid of fruits. Don't be afraid of fruits. You're getting all that fiber with the fruit. You're not just drinking a sugary drink. You're getting fructose sugar from the fruit, but you're getting the fiber with it. So that's important. All right. That's basically what all the things that I wanted to talk to you about. In summary, we looked at how nutrition changes as we age, the 4 factors of what changes, and we've looked at the simple lesson on the nutrition basics. I think any one of you can teach somebody that now, right? The 6 things, 3 macros, 2 micros, and water. You can, a great way to remember things is to teach somebody else. So maybe somebody in your household or your neighbor, you can teach them about nutrition or have them come to this class. And then we looked at the 3 important essential things that I think we sometimes overlook: our omega-3 fatty acids, our calcium, and our fiber. So I just want to thank you for being here today. There's more great classes. Every day we've got more and more new classes coming to the schedule. So keep checking it. For example, in half an hour, I am teaching a brand new class. It's going to be my first one, so you would be my guinea pigs, called Detoxing Your Home. And what you're going to learn there is how to go from room to room and clean up some of the toxins that we kind of overlook. If we're trying to keep our bodies healthy from what we eat, we need to have an environment that supports that. So that's what that class is about. What else to tell you? I'm going to send out an email to you, post email, with a little bit of just a summary of what we learned. There will be a feedback button. Please give us feedback. We love to get feedback. I love getting feedback. I mean, of course, I love getting 5 stars. Like, don't get me wrong. I do like getting 5 stars, but I do really read every single bit of feedback you give me. And so, once I got feedback that my class felt a bit rushed, because you know what? I am so excited passionate about my subjects that I have so many things I don't want to miss telling you. So maybe I need to kind of cut out a few slides, possibly. But sometimes it's just that the amount of questions I get asked, because it drums up a lot of questions. And we like to hear really lovely stories, like we just heard the story about the cholesterol story. So please give feedback if you can. And this is a new little button we have on our systems in our website now, where if you sign up for a class, this button will show up. And on that button, you can invite a friend to a class. I think that's kind of a neat idea. And then lastly, if you have any interest in hosting an interest group, or you can suggest a new class, please send it to help@getsetup.io. That's the same email to request the recording as well. So I'm going to stop sharing. We're right at the minute before the class ends. I know some of you like to be able to get a little bathroom break before you start another class at 10 o'clock. But if you have a question that you want to ask me, you can just stay behind. I can stay for a minute or two, and then I'm teaching in half an hour. So I have a question here. Let me just read this. This Neelam's just asking me a question here in the chat. Okay, great. Oh, I'm so glad, Neelam, you found the class helpful. I have a really close family member, my dad's friend actually, who's celiac, and she's 87 years old. She's been celiac for like 50 some years, maybe even more than 50 years, because she found out earlier on. So I get a lot of personal experience of knowing how, I mean, if you eat something with a tiny little bit of gluten, she's in bed for days. Like, she is so sick, like almost hospitalized sick from it. So I know the importance of, you know, having that clean and eating from that. I am a proponent. If you want to know what my opinion is in terms of how to eat, I think we should have flexibility. So I actually follow what they call a flexitarian diet. It sounds kind of made up. I think it's kind of one of the new age sort of new things. Flexitarian. You can look it up. What is that? Mostly plant-based. So I'm not vegan, I'm not vegetarian, but I eat a lot of plant-based foods. I eat fruits and vegetables. I right now am very little grain. I don't eat any grains. I don't eat the gluten, but I don't eat any grains because it kind of upsets my system. And I'm not eating any dairy because dairy also is inflammatory in my body. So So I think it's an individual decision. So flexitarian is someone who eats vegan or vegetarian, and then they include animal proteins when they want to. So they might be 90% plant, 10%. I'm more like about 60% plant-based, and I do eat animal products and their byproducts like eggs. So it's all, I think, an individual thing, and you test it out to see what your body likes, and we're all different. Yeah. All right. Well, I wanted to say thank you and goodbye to everybody, and I hope to see you in another class. All right,
Thank you very
Henrietta.
much. Thanks.
Great to see everybody.
Thanks.
And thank you, John, for helping out today.